Okay, it kicked me back to the beginning. That's good. I got partway through this and decided I didn't like it. I have been trying to convince my cat to come up and be a part of this video, but she is lounging in the sun. So, I mean, if you're a cat, like lounging in the sun, part of a math video, I don't know. So she seems like she's just going to sit and stare. Anyway, it's going to be a short video regardless. This is a factoring practice day, and today is a day for getting some practice with factoring as well as exploring something called the zero product property. So there's really no new material that is being covered today. It is just a chance to slow down a little bit and get practice at factoring. Now, what I did here was I outlined some steps, and they're not really like a step 1, step 2, step 3. It's more like, hey, look for this, then look for this. Kind of where should your thought process go? The first thing you always want to do when you are asked to factor is to look for any common factors. We know that not every expression has common factors, okay? So you can look at the different terms and factor out all that prime factorization, and it turns out they have nothing in common, and that's fine, okay? But you want to train yourself to look for common factors first. If there are any, factor out the GCF before doing anything else. Now, typically common factors are not going to be awful. So if all of the numbers say are even, then you know you have a common factor of 2. If you see an X in every single term, then you know you have a common factor of X. If everything ends in a 5 or a 0, well, we know we have a common factor of 5. And so forth. But you want to train yourself to check. Now, once you factor out any common factors or determine that there are no common factors, look to see if the expression or the expression you have left is the difference of squares, and if it is, factor using conjugates. That another way to put that is look to see if this is a special case. So for example, if you look at it and you see that is the difference of squares, and so that would factor into x plus 5 and x minus 5, okay, and you would factor using those conjugates. Now, if the remaining expression is quadratic, meaning it's a quadratic trinomial, so it's not the difference of squares, but yes, it is a quadratic, then you're going to factor using the area model. You will be required to show work for the area model, even if you know another way. And I do understand that that is aggravating for some of you, particularly if you've been taught how to factor another way really, really well. And the reason I do it is because most AI will not help you with an area model. So it's a little bit of added insurance to make sure that we're not photographing and AIing our way through the homework, but that we are actually doing the factoring out. And also, if you do know another way, knowing multiple ways to do this is never going to hurt you, and in fact is going to help you. So I do want you to remember that the reason that I am such an advocate for the area model is because I know we will use it for polynomial division. And so even if you're totally good with factoring using slide and divide or factoring by grouping or some other method, that those methods do not carry over into polynomial division. So if you just have to tell yourself, okay, fine, I'm going to do it this way just so I can be prepared for a future like content skill, then like that's what you tell yourself. But you do have to show it using the area model, and you may use the tiles to help. So I am going to give you an assist with the tiles, at least for now. You will not be allowed to use them on your EOC, but I will allow you to use them on the test. I'm not sure if I'll like let you use them on the test for a cost. I remember doing that with a physics class I taught years ago, where they could use like an index card, but it cost them 5 percentage points if they wanted to come in with an index card with notes. So and then what I did every quarter was I like upped the cost. So by the time we got to the third quarter, you could not get an A if you were still using the index card. So I might do something like that. It's undecided at this time, but at least for this assignment, you may use the tiles to help you. And here's what the assignment is. So for numbers 1 through 10, going down there on the left, factor completely. So check for a GCF if there is a common factor, if there's, get the greatest one out. And then you can see that there's like a smattering of things that look like quadratics. I think there's one cubic that's snuck in there, but it's absolutely, we've covered enough for you to be able to do that. And then for 11 through 15, I want you to carry out this exploration as explained. So for number 11, the product of two integers equals 24. List all of the possible integer pairs you can think of that would give you 24. So just to get that rolling, so you know what I'm aiming for with that, you might say 2 times 12. And so you would have that integer pair of 2 times 12. There are quite a few integer pairs that you can find for this, and I do want you to be thinking out of the box, okay? What we'll do is we will go over this in class where you can add to your list in the event that you miss any, but I should see like, okay, this is what I had, and then, oh, this is what I had to add on afterwards because I missed it. Now, 12 is a little bit different. The product of two numbers, so not necessarily two integers, okay, just two numbers equals 1. Stan student says the two numbers must be 1 and 1. In other words, 1 times 1 equals 1. Sally student says there are infinite pairs of numbers. Who is correct and why? And you do have to answer both questions to get credit for doing this problem. So you can't just like say 50-50, Stan or Sally, pick one. You do have to like pick one and then explain why you picked that one. For number 13, list at least 5 pairs of numbers that multiply to give you 0. So like just kind of generate 5 pairs and then look closely and you have to answer this. So again, there's 2 parts to that. There's the list the numbers and then there's a question to answer. What do all of your pairs have in common? So look at them and say, okay, I have a common thing here. And then 14, fill in the blanks. If the product of two numbers is 0, then, and I want you to fill that in with your own words as best you can. So basically you're going to take your answer for number 13 and try to put it in the phrasing of 14. So what do they have in common? Like kind of state what they have in common. Now, 11 and 12 are going to kind of guide you into that so you can kind of see why the 0 is important. And then for 15, I want you to look up the 0 product property online and copy down the definition or whatever explanation you find. And the question you have to answer, so you're going to have to copy. Okay, so I should see on your homework the copied definition. And then you have this question. Do you understand what you copied? Because when you do a search like that, it could lead you to a high school appropriate site or like definition that's like appropriate for your level. You could also land on something that is like graduate school. So if you've landed on something that's graduate school and then you tell me that you understand it, I might ask you to follow up on that. Okay. So answer honestly. Now, if you answer no, like no, I do not understand what I copied, I want you to follow that up with a question about what you see. So, and don't just say, can you explain this? Okay, like not that kind of question. So a couple of question starters might be something like, what does this word mean? Like, so there's a word in what you wrote down that that you don't understand, or it could be a notation that you don't understand. So like ask me something really specific about it. So I know that that was kind of an explanation, but I wanted to make sure that you were getting an explanation of what you're being asked to do. Everybody can do this, okay? So this is an exploration, and what I want you to do is explore, observe, and ask questions. As always, you guys know where to find me if you need some help, and I hope to see you in class.